Just think, all of this is yours, forever.
Come on and live the magic.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Live the Magic Diamond Days Part 2. In this mini-series, we take a deep dive into the entertainment offerings created for Disneyland's Diamond Celebration, ending with the actual day, July 17th, 2015, Disneyland's 60th anniversary. In this episode, I will be talking about California Adventure's World of Color Celebrate. This episode may be on the shorter side, as I talked about this a bit in the World of Color episode. Think of this as a Live the Magic light. With that said, let's begin. I won't go into the full history of World of Color here because I have a whole video dedicated to that, but for this video, we'll just start on June 11th, 2010, when the original version of World of Color premiered. This show uses fountains, water screens, isopar flames, and lasers to present a beautiful spectacle of dancing color. In the holiday season of 2013, Disney introduced the very first new version of the show, World of Color Winter Dreams. This show utilized all the technology from the 2010 version, but didn't add any new effects of its own. In 2015, Disney announced that they would create a new World of Color show to go alongside Disneyland's 60th anniversary, headed by Disney nighttime show legend Steve Davison. World of Color Celebrate. This new show required a short hiatus of the original version because Disney needed to add the new show elements all around the lagoon. World of Color Celebrate opened on May 22nd, 2015, along with the other Diamond Celebration festivities, to incredibly average reviews. While many said the show was decent, it was nowhere near the level of quality that the other two 60th anniversary shows had achieved. Long story short, while this show was beautiful, it had a lot of problems, which I will go into in the design segment. The show ran for the duration of the Diamond Celebration, having its final performance on September 5th, 2016, with the original World of Color returning on September 6th. And that's the end of this show's history. Wow, I guess this short history segment makes up for last time's colossal one. Anyway, that gives me some extra time that could be funneled into the design segment, so let's move on to that. I have a lot of problems with this show, which I will talk about in the conclusion, but to understand why, let's look into the show by analyzing every scene. Let's begin. The show began quite similarly to the original version, just switching the lyrics "The Wonderful World of Color" to "The Wonderful World of Walt Disney." The announcer then introduced Neil Patrick Harris to the stage, or screen, or lagoon? Who knows? Anyway, Harris acted as the host of the show, taking the viewer on an aquatic tour of the wonderful world of Walt Disney. Mickey Mouse also joined Harris as the co-host. In this show, Mickey was voiced by Brett Irwin. I would make some snide remark about Harris's involvement with this show, but I actually don't have a problem with it. Harris has always been a massive Disneyland fan, so I think he was a fine choice to host this version. That's not where my problems lie. It's what Harris is hosting that I take issue with. But we'll get to that in due time. The introduction featured a mix of the original World of Color soundtrack mixed in with, strangely, the theme from Celebrate the Magic at the Magic Kingdom, a castle projection show that replaced the Magic the Memories in You and then got replaced by a clone of Tokyo's Once Upon a Time. As bizarre as this decision is, it was oddly perfect for the show's tone, which managed to find the perfect mix of exhilarating and emotional. Anyway, moving on to the first real scene, this segment was dedicated to Walt's creation of Mickey with his famous quote,
"I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing. It was all started by a mouse."
beginning the whole montage. This segment showed the progress of Mickey, beginning with Steamboat Willie in 1928 and then going all the way to the modern Mickey shorts from 2015. This segment is one of the few in the show that, in my opinion, works very well. It makes sense, and most importantly, was 100% Walt's creation, which I can't say for the rest of the show, but we'll get to that. The next section was dedicated to Walt's desires to make full-length animated features, with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs kicking off this segment. However, after the Snow White section, this show goes off the rails. After the Snow White scene comes a massive clip show of different movies, most of which came long after Walt's 1966 passing. One could write this off as the extent to which Walt's creations flourished in the following years, but this problem becomes much less explainable in later sections of the show. Ending the clip show is Let It Go, which reminds me while creating this video in 2020 that Frozen Fever was a thing and that it had become way too big and had spread into everything by 2015. Thank God Frozen Fever ended soon after. After this section, Harris introduces Walt's biggest dream yet, and the topic for the spectacular, his dream of creating Disneyland. Following the swell in the music along with Walt's opening day speech comes the Disneyland Clip Show, which has even more problems than the animation segment. Out of the 7 attractions featured in this segment, Walt only had a hand in creating 4 of them, and only got to see 2 through to completion. Also, for a segment allegedly about Walt opening Disneyland, there is not a single opening day attraction featured in the clip show. The closest thing to an opening day attraction featured is Tiki Room, which opened 8 years after Disneyland did in 1963. It seems like they just put all of the Disneyland Resort's attractions into a hat and pulled out random ones. None of these mesh together well, and they all feel incredibly out of place. Going from Tiki Room to Splash Mountain to Radiator Springs Racers of all things, or going from Small World to Star Tours The Adventures Continue. And speaking of the Star Tours scene, it feels a lot like Disney is going, hey, this attraction exists, but look at this! Star Wars The Force Awakens coming Christmas of 2015, look! This section just turns into a massive ad for Force Awakens, and while that may have been an acceptable decision for the original World of Color, which constantly swapped in and out different sections to promote new movies, it feels really out of place in this version that is supposed to celebrate the life of Walt Disney and his creation of Disneyland. Fortunately, that is the end of the problems with this show, and the rest of the show goes back to being a timeless adventure through Disneyland's past. After the Star Wars promotion, Neil Patrick Harris appears once again to introduce another section of the show, with this one being dedicated to the memories that Disneyland has created over the years. Video of people enjoying the parks are displayed as a cover of Bob Dylan's Forever Young plays. This section is genuinely beautiful, and I love it more than any scene in the original. After this scene, Harris appears once again to introduce the finale, which once again features the Celebrate the Magic soundtrack integrated with pieces of the original World of Color soundtrack. A few more Walt Disney quotes are heard, and then comes the grand finale, which features every effect in the lagoon that was in existence by this point. I haven't yet talked about the added effects yet, so let's talk about them now. Adding on to the 2010 technology, many new effects were added around the bay for this new version of the show. LED lights were added to California Screamin's support structure, smoke cannons were added to the edge of the seating area, new lights were added in the amphitheater, and projection screens were added to California Screamin' and to Mickey's Fun Wheel. The Fun Wheel projections required a scrim to be added in front of the attraction prior to the show every night, so on particularly windy nights, this effect was turned off and the projections were shifted over to California Screamin'. After the finale, there are also two post-show elements. First, the full cover of Forever Young is played while streams of water gently dance around the lagoon. After, Walt appears on the projection screen to wish everyone a good night and the outro plays. A cover of the song Disneyland from the very obscure Howard Ashman musical Smile, which in a weird twist of fate was actually sung by Jodie Benson, the voice of Ariel from The Little Mermaid. After this, the fountains and lights are shut off and the show is over. So that's World of Color Celebrate. What do I think of it, you ask? Well, let's answer that question in the conclusion. I am not going to rank the different World of Color shows here, as I did that in the first World of Color episode, but if you're really curious, here. Anyway, now my thoughts on this show. This show has some wonderful scenes, but overall, it has way too many problems, which is why I ranked it here in the original tier list. Though while I was rewatching it, I found it much better than I remembered. I saw this show once during Memorial Day weekend of 2015, and while I didn't like it at the time, over the years it's grown on me a bit. Harris and Mickey were better hosts than I remembered, and overall, there are some good scenes, and even the bad ones, though conceptually flawed, are quite beautifully displayed through the technology in the lagoon. This show has some scenes that I think are better than any other version of World of Color, with the exception of Season of Light, but it just has too many problems in general. Now, that does make it better than Winter Dreams and Villainous, which also have problems but have no redeeming qualities, but it does not make it to the same level as the original version or my personal favorite, Season of Light. While the original version of World of Color does not feature any scenes that are even a fraction as beautiful as some of the scenes in Celebrate, the original's lack of problems, or at least blatantly obvious ones, I think makes it somewhat better. It's actually a lot like looking at Disneyland Park and Disney's California Adventure at the time of this show's opening. While DCA has many great attractions, most were, and still are, based on hit new intellectual properties. Sure, there are some attractions that I think are better than Disneyland Park attractions, both original and IP-based, but overall, Disneyland Park, at least at the time, remained timeless. There were some attractions based around fairly new IPs, and there were a lot more to come, but there were still a lot of classic attractions, both based on old IPs and original ideas. And while World of Color is almost entirely IP-based, I'll take the one with the consistently great attractions over the one with the few standout attractions and otherwise mainly lackluster promotional attractions any day. So that's World of Color Celebrate. What does it all boil down to? A great, big, beautiful, hot mess. Thank you for watching part 2 of Live the Magic Diamond Days. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking the video and maybe even subscribing to my YouTube channel. Be sure to tune in next time when I review the Diamond Celebration Signature Fireworks Spectacular, Disneyland Forever. There are a lot of other videos coming out this summer too you won't want to miss, so be sure to click the bell icon so you get notified when we upload a new video. Have a great, big, beautiful day, and remember, tomorrow is just a dream away.
Step into the magic. Every color shines so bright. Step into the magic. Step into the magic.
Just think, all of this is yours.